A court in South Africa has rejected a call by the anti-graft watchdog that the Reserve Bank change its focus from its monetary policy focus to boosting economic growth instead of fighting inflation and preserving the value of the rand. The public protector sparked a huge political round, a big sell-off in the rand when she proposed a change in the central bank's monetary policy target and mandate, broadly speaking, in June. Now, the High Court said the proposal lacked merit in a ruling that was welcomed by the South African Reserve Bank. Policymakers had also broadly warned that the political concerns and the regulatory uncertainty triggered by that proposal were harming investor sentiment towards South Africa. The rand did firm by at least a quarter in the aftermath of that particular ruling. All right, then let's get the latest details on this particular ruling. Sumitra Naidu joins us now live from Johannesburg with more data on this particular story. Sumitra, good to see you. How can the public protector, Position Mkhwebane, how can she recover from the self-inflicted damage due after this report? After all, she chose not to defend her own recommendations in court. But how can the institution as a whole recover its credibility after this?
Yes, that's right, Rama. I think restoring the reputation of the Public Protector's Office is going to be tough, especially since she's filling such big shoes. Her predecessor built up the office as a no-nonsense, no-favour institution and remained focused throughout her tenure in fighting government corruption, which is also one of the explanations that some analysts gave when the new protector made this recommendation that led to the court action, that she was actually trying to make her mark as the new protector. Of course, that went horribly wrong if that really was the case, because that recommendation has raised questions about how competent she is to actually hold the position of public protector. However, she has admitted she made the wrong decision. She's only been in office for a few months. She can change this if she continues along the lines of her predecessor, if she's vigorous in her investigations to expose corruption. There's a number of cases in front of her, the state of capture report being one. I think it will depend on the cases she takes on and what she does with them that will actually determine her credibility in the end.
Indeed. So the South African Reserve Bank clearly winning in court today, but that doesn't necessarily mean this bank or bailout saga that triggered this entire thing is over and done with, does it?
Yes, that's right. The recommendation to have the mandate of the Reserve Bank amended was actually part of the Public Protector's report on the Bank saga. So the judgment today was clear in that it only addressed the case brought forward by the Reserve Bank, in which the bank argued that the Public Protector was out of her ambit in requesting constitutional changes to the bank's mandate. So the court has set aside the report based on that. Her ruling on the Bank case is still there, but it's being argued by ABSA at the moment, who's also proceeded with legal action.
Indeed. So where does this leave ABSA's court challenge? As you mentioned, they're making some fairly interesting arguments against the report. When should we expect a decisive ruling on that matter?
Well, ABSA only filed an application with the High Court just a few days ago asking for the report to be reviewed and set aside. It should take a couple of weeks. It will have to wait for a court date. It's also asked the court for the Rule 53 record, which is a record of all documents that served before the Public Protector when she did her report. Now, ABSA did say there were a number of factual inaccuracies in the report, and I think it really wants to put this case that has been brought before on 3 occasions, it really wants to put it to rest, and it also wants to assure the public that this case is now over.
Indeed. One last question for you, Sumitra, because we're talking about policy risk and political risk, of course, in South Africa. The ANC announcing today that it would discipline, I'm putting that in air quotes for now, discipline MPs who publicly admitted that they would vote against the president in last week's no confidence motion. What sort of sanctions are likely to be imposed on these legislators? And isn't this the start, perhaps, of a wider witch hunt, perhaps, for any legislator opposed to the president?
Well, it does seem that way, even though the ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe today said there would be no witch hunt to find out who the other ANC MPs are that voted against the president in the secret ballot. But it is rather concerning that the party wants to take this disciplinary action against those that were open about their vote. Now, that announcement came through late this afternoon, just a day after President Zuma said that those MPs that voted against him have brought the party into disrepute and would be dealt with. Very strong words coming through there. but the Secretary-General didn't go into too much detail about what kind of punishment would follow, only that it is allowed in the party. But there seems to be a suggestion that MPs could lose their jobs and positions within the party. Mantashe told journalists this afternoon that Derek Hanekom, for instance, who also happens to be the chairperson of the ANC's disciplinary committee, would be one to face a DC because he was also too vocal about the party on Twitter. This kind of action was feared ahead of the vote. The ANC made it very clear that it would instruct the party how to vote. So no doubt there's going to be some severe action for those MPs that actually came forward and, as the ANC said, voted with their conscience.
Indeed, we'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you for that. That's Sumitra Naidoo, of course, live there in Johannesburg, South Africa.